Zo jongens, goed is zijn we online nu. Ik kan het niet zien. Ik zeg goeiedag allemaal namens het team van Withlocals, waar we uitleg van doen zijn. Nou, allereerst allemaal welkom in Nederland. De stream die jullie zien komt 20 seconden later bij het uitspreken. Dus even ben ik streamer uitgezet, want anders worden we helemaal dizzy natuurlijk. Maar vandaag gaan jullie zien, nemen we jullie mee op tour door Berlijn. Aan de andere kant zien jullie, ik denk dat jullie al in beeld hebben, Miha en voordat ik ga vertellen, ik ga een klein beetje uitleggen in het Nederlands wat we gaan doen, hoe dit tot stand gekomen is. En dat geeft mensen die nog niet online zijn de gelegenheid om aan te schuiven, misschien nog even kijken hoe het werkt. Iemand zegt schrikkelijk geluid. Waarom is het ook verschrikkelijk echo? Oké, goed, dan kunnen we dat there's a lot of echoing. Lucas, I don't know if you can hear me, but people comment there's a lot of echo noise in the sound. Can you change that a little bit? Modify a lot of echoing. Okay. Lucas, that is we have been testing. We hebben dit getest vanmiddag en wij zitten hier. Ik spreek dus samen met Miha spreek ik Engels. Wij werken hier Skype, maar dat gaat helemaal via iemand dat te realiseren. Die zit in Litouwen. So Lucas, I think you can hear me, and people have terrible echo. So they are listening, and the echo is a problem. So they turn off the speaker. That's what they say. Maybe I have the speaker on here, but I don't think so. I will have a look if I have a double. Turn off the speaker. People say turn off the speaker. But I don't have this on. Maybe I have a double line with Skype. Miha, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
And
I cannot hear any echo. So I don't know how this issue happened. But can they hear me? Is there an echo if I'm speaking as well? Can you ask people if there's an echo while I'm speaking? Hello everybody. Hi from Berlin. My name is Miha.
Oh no. Okay. Miha, you are not echoing. I am only echoing. So from my place, there is a problem. We don't have a problem, but they have a problem. So that is terrible. So yours is okay.
Yes.
Well, how can we communicate then?
Let's see. Can we get?
Yeah. Bianca said that you should mute your microphone. Maybe when I speak to you. Shall we test that?
Okay. Let's try this.
Hello. Can you hear me now? Okay. Inge van de Tol. Jij zegt via
Hallo clubbers, als het goed is zijn we weer online met een klein beetje vertraging, helaas, maar dat is niet anders. Is het geluid nu beter? We hadden net een enorme echo, hoor ik. En nu als het goed is, ik heb alles verder uitgezet en ik wist niet dat er wat zou storen. Maar misschien kan een van jullie even, ja, nog steeds echo, zegt Nan van Oefelen. Oh, waardeloos zeg. Nou, eens even kijken wat er gebeurt als ik gewoon naar buiten ga. Misschien dat want ik zit ook in een huis met heel veel herrie. Ik heb gewoon in mijn huis, ik heb gewoon geen meubels in mijn huis. Is het zo beter? Kan ik ook weer niet zien, want ik ben mijn scherm nou kwijt. Als ik buiten sta, gaat het dan beter? Geef even geluid. Ik ga nou weer naar binnen toe. En anders ga ik er helemaal tussenuit, want dan gaat Miha het verder vertellen. Oh, nu is het goed. Is het helemaal goed zo? Oké, Miha, I understand that it is... Oh, now there is echo again. No, it's okay. Bianca also tells me that it's well now. Okay, let's try again and see what we can do now. I'm still in my room again. Zo, nou mensen, ik ga het weer in het Nederlands vertellen. Eventjes, en hou ik het heel kort. Jullie zitten in een uitzending van een club, van een samenwerking van Withlocals Klup. Club is een social platform voor 50-plussers, zoals de meesten van jullie wel weten. En Withlocals is een organisatie die zich bezighoudt met het... Hoe zal ik het goed uitleggen? Withlocals zijn in feite gidsen nou gaat iemand mij zitten bellen. Dat is helemaal niet zo interessant. Ga ik even stoppen. Weigeren. Oh, I had a phone call coming in. That's not clever. Withlocals is dus een organisatie die zich bezighoudt met het ontvangen. Het is een platform waarbij gidsen in allerlei steden in de wereld zich aanbieden om gasten te ontvangen. Een van de gidsen in Berlijn is Miha. Die zit hier in de auto al met smart te wachten tot hij zijn verhaal kan gaan vertellen. Ik ga er verder niet te veel dan maar over uitleggen. Ik zeg alleen even met dank aan de initiatiefnemers Bram van Withlocals en Michiel van Club. Die hebben dat samen bekokstoofd. In ons team zit Miha in Berlijn achter het stuur. En helemaal in Litouwen zit Lucas. Die zit allemaal de touwtjes aan elkaar te knopen. En Bianca is de manager. Zij komt uit Roemenië. Maar die zit nu in Eindhoven. Hoe leuk is dat allemaal? Al die gekke dingen met elkaar. Nou, ik ga het jullie heel gauw overgeven aan... aan Miha. Als je vragen hebt, zet het in de chat. Dat kan ik allemaal lezen. Ik kan de vragen van jullie weer doorgeven aan Miha. So thank you Miha for waiting a little bit. Can you introduce yourself and tell us what we are going to do today?
Yes. So hello everybody. I hear there's lots of people watching from the Netherlands, the Kluppers. And I'm very happy to spend this hour with you, or a little bit more. We'll see. So I'm in Berlin. I've been waiting on the start of this tour in front of the Reichstag building. I am a tour guide in Berlin, originally a veterinarian, but I switched professions and started working with Withlocals 4 years ago. When they opened in Berlin, they were searching for tour guides, so I joined, and it's been a great success story ever since, until Corona happened, a situation where we could not do tours anymore, so I do walking tours, biking tours, which I'm sure in Netherlands, the Dutch people would love. And car tours, all kinds of tours in Berlin. We have tour guides all over the world that do wonderful tours, experiences, food tastings. So when this situation happened, all the tours were canceled because we were not able to walk around and bring our guests with us. So we had to come up with something, and we came up with Withlocals Live, which is actually a virtual tour. I started doing a tour where I put my phone in front of the car, and you see what I see, most of the things that I see. It's not 360 view, but still, so aren't my eyes, And I try to show you a little bit of Berlin, most of the famous sites. So I suggest we start the tour before it gets dark, so you can still see something. So I'll actually get out of the car at first because I want to show you this wonderful building called Reichstag, which is a very historical building. And I'm going to turn the camera to the front like this. Yes. And walking around. There you go. This is our parliament. This is the Reichstag, where the Bundestag actually sits and resides in. Bundestag is the gathering of members of the parliament that sit and work in the Reichstag, which is the building. This building is from 1895. And you probably know that it was burned in 1933 on 27th of February when the Nazis burned the parliament, accused the communists, who were the largest opposition party in the parliament, but Hitler wanted to rule without opposition, so that was kind of a scapegoat. So after that, they blamed the communists. They threw them out of the parliament, sent them to concentration camps. The president of Germany, von Hindenburg, passed a year later. So Hitler then became the absolute Führer leader until his death. So that's like a very quick history. You see on the top the new dome, which is a glass dome designed by Sir Norman Foster. The older dome was a beautiful one as well, but it's gone. So in 1999, the parliament from Bonn moved completely to Berlin, and since then, this has been the place of the parliament. Next, you see all these buildings, which are the government buildings where the members of the parliament sit and work inside as well. Their offices are inside. And then if we turn to the other side, wow, there's a beautiful sunset coming. Not yet, but so we have to keep moving. This is the Chancellery. You probably heard of Angela Merkel, right? Our Chancellor of almost 16 years now. And this is where she works. This is the office. So it's called Kanzleramt or Chancellery, also nicknamed the washing machine because it's a form. It looks like a washing machine. Berliners love to give like nicknames to the buildings. So this is so-called the government quarter, and that's where we'll start. On the other side, there's the beautiful Tiergarten or animal garden, the park that used to be the hunting grounds for the king initially, but later on transformed into a public park. So I'm going to get into the car again. And if there are any questions, I'm sure Jaap will give me the questions so I can answer.
Yeah, well, there is people that say, well, it's nice that we can see the city now without all those tourists because now it's quiet. So how is this? I also saw a question of somebody who asked what the situation is if they want to come to Berlin now.
Or you also saw the question of what?
If people come to Berlin now to see the city, can they walk around easily? Is there any prohibited?
They have to. They can walk only in pairs. It's not possible to gather in groups. they cannot, I mean, if they want to stay in hotels, they can, because tourism is currently still not allowed. So only if they cannot officially stay with friends either, I guess, because you're only allowed to stay with the family, I guess. And I think there's also a mandatory quarantine if you come to Germany, I think. I'm not sure, because this is changing on a daily basis.
Okay.
But it anybody who is thinking of coming to Berlin should really check before they begin the journey, so they don't get stuck at the border or something.
Okay. I will explain to the people that if they want, they can give me also a message on WhatsApp. Dus clubbers, als jullie kijken en je wil een vraag stellen en je vindt het veel werk om in te loggen, dan kun je ook mij een berichtje sturen op WhatsApp. Dan geef ik mijn telefoonnummer even: 06 3080 88 75. We rijden nu vanaf de Rijksdag. Ik heb een heel lijstje en we gaan nu naar... Is it correct that we go to Schloss Bellevue?
Yes. But before we get there, I just want to quickly show you what I see on my right, which is this beautiful... Oh, let me just toggle the camera. So this is a beautiful Haus der Kulturen der Welt, or a House of the Cultures of the World. We also call it the Pregnant Oyster. It's a building from the 50s, and it used to be a Congress hall. Now it's an event hall. They have different exhibitions, and it's a beautiful building, actually. There's also a sculpture in front. I don't know how much you can see because it's against the sun, but there's a butterfly by Henry Moore, a British sculptor. But we will continue now towards the Schloss Bellevue, which is the official residence of the president of Germany. Currently, the president is Walter Steinmeier. The function of the president, I guess, worldwide, the German president worldwide is not so well known. Most of the people know just Angela Merkel or the Chancellor, whoever is, she's been a while, so a lot of people don't even know anyone else, because if you were just born when she took office, these people are now 16 years old already, almost, sweet 16. Anyway, so there's a president and there's a chancellor. Chancellor is like a prime minister. So in Netherlands, this will be like a prime minister and you have the king, right? So president in a way, not really, but it's a more ceremonial role.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I understand that we are now going to see the map. I cannot see that, but I heard that from Bianca that we want to see the map now. I cannot see it here. Maar jongens in Nederland, en meisjes natuurlijk, we gaan even hier jullie krijgen de map te zien, hoe heet dat, een plattegrond. En daar zie je dus waar we rijden en hoe we rijden. En dan zie je ongeveer de route. Want het is best leuk om even te zien en om te weten hoe de route precies is. Ik zal heel gauw vertellen, vanaf de Rijksdag gaan we dus naar Slot Bellevue. Dan krijgen we de Siegessäule, dat is de Victory Column in het Engels. Daarna gaan we de Brandenburger Tor bekijken. Vervolgens gaan we naar het Holocaust Memorial. En daarna dat Museum Insel. Maar ik ga de rest straks vertellen, want we zijn inmiddels aangekomen bij Schloss Bellevue. Miha.
Yes, this is Schloss Bellevue, and this is the official residence of the president and also his office. So if you want to live here, you have to become German president. That's a note for everyone if you want to live here. It's a beautiful palace. There's a huge garden behind it, and some new buildings as well, for the office of the president. But that's right here on the other side of Tiergarten, or the animal garden. I'll just refer it to Tiergarten because that's the name here. So yes. Now we are driving towards the Siegersäule, or Victory Column, Column of Victory, which was erected initially to celebrate the victories of Prussia. Prussia was the kingdom before in this area, and it was erected to celebrate the victories of Prussia against or over Austria, France, and Denmark in the 19th century. So this is the Victory Column with the golden Victoria on the top. Beautiful skyline, if you can see that, with clouds. Officially, it was standing before the parliament when it was built in the 19th century, but then Hitler moved it to this location in the middle of the park in 1938 because he wanted to create a central path or avenue through the whole Berlin.
Hey, Miha.
Yeah.
That device that you can put the stoplights on red, it works very well.
Yes. I was working really hard to start it, you know.
Fantastic, man. I know that you have been working on it for 3 days now, but it's doing good.
You know, I was camping in front of Merkel's office to just persuade her to let me do this.
Good.
So another view, because afterwards I will be driving around this huge roundabout, which maybe you saw, you know, whenever there was like a love parade in the 90s, it was very famous, where like 1 million people would dance to the rave music and techno music. You know, it was this huge parties, and they were always happening here around in the park and going around the Siegersäule. Also, the gay parade goes here. Then you have whenever there's a football match or like a Euro, championship or World Championship, they will close down the avenue that goes towards the Strandberg Gate and put the big screens on, and people can watch, eat their sausages, drink beer, and so on. So we will now drive towards the Strandberg Gate around this roundabout. And you will see the main landmark in Berlin, which is the Strandberg Gate. See? Red again.
Nice.
So you can admire a little bit more of this wonderful column.
Is it really covered with gold?
Yes, the Victoria is golden on the top, and you can actually take a staircase. You can go up and walk up to the top. There's a little bit of space only on the top, so you kind of are stuck in this basket, but it's all, you know, protected, so you cannot really climb up and to the top of the fence or anything and fall down. So it's but it's a nice view. You're right in the center of Berlin, basically, you know.
Okay. I am looking here in the meantime at Wikipedia to see if you tell it correctly.
Thank you. Control is always good. So basically now the tower is even a little bit higher. It's higher by 6.5 meters because Hitler, of course, wanted to have everything bigger and grander. So his architect, Albert Speer, added one more segment. So there are now 4 segments in the column. So it's 6.5 meters higher than it originally was.
So originally it has been before the Reichstag, eh?
Originally it was standing in front of the Reichstag, and then in 1938 it was moved to this location.
Yeah, I can see that.
And now we are driving along this big avenue. It's the street of 17th of June. It's beautiful promenade, you know, with linden trees on each side. We're driving actually through the park. and maybe you will start recognizing the Strandberg Gate in the end already. So Brandenburg Gate or Brandenburger Tor was created in 1791, and it was a gate to the city because the city was much smaller before. On the top you have Quadriga, the four horses with the goddess of victory. And that sculpture was taken down by Napoleon when he came to Berlin in 1806 and took it as a trophy with him to Paris, put it in Louvre Museum, and then 8 years later, Prussia won the war with France. They went to Paris and they brought it back and they put it back onto the Brandenburg Gate. So today it's again on the top. After the Second World War, it was removed one more time for repairs, but otherwise it's been always there. You can also see on the side the TV tower, which is the highest building in Germany, 368 meters high, built in 1969, so 51 years old this year. And as we approach the Brandenburg Gate, you're getting a better picture probably of the gate. It's a beautiful landmark.
It's absolutely. I think this is the best known landmark in the city, isn't it?
And in Germany probably as well, because it has so much, it was so powerful. We are actually now driving on the wall. I don't know if you can see in the street, there's like a double brick wall line, and we were just driving on the wall. Now we are still in West Berlin, but soon we will be crossing to East Berlin.
Okay.
Of course, there's a red light again. Yup.
Yeah, nice. Well done, man. It works perfectly.
Yeah, you can see now the red. You can see the line. Do you see this line going? It's like a double brick line.
Okay. Yeah.
And
where can I see that?
This is where Berlin Wall stood. So we are just going to drive across.
Oh, that's here in the bottom.
Yeah, exactly.
In the street.
So now we are in East Berlin.
Oh man.
Without showing your passport. So you see, with me, you can just get across the border illegally.
I remember from many years ago, I think it was in the 70s, that I was there, and then we had the wall still existing, and we went to a place that was called Checkpoint Charlie. Is that still a landmark as well?
Checkpoint Charlie is still there. It's basically just a former border crossing, so it's in the street. It's nothing special, but the meaning is special because so many people cross there. That was the only crossing for the tourists, so if you wanted to cross to East Berlin, you had to go across Checkpoint Charlie.
I see that.
Yeah.
I say that. Well, in the meantime, Miha, yes. I can tell you that there is messages coming in here. People are really enjoying what we are doing, and they really like what they see, and they like the way you act. And there is somebody here, Rieneke, he said, "Wat doen jullie dit weer goed?" met een vette uitroepteken. It means, what are you doing this fantastically? So people are happy, other people, they have fun. And they say, well, a little bit hiccups, but we're enjoying very much. So people like it. So I like it. It works quite well, eh? What?
Thank you, Kluppers.
Nice.
Did I say it right, Kluppers?
Kluppers is good.
Good.
It's we are the family club.
Yeah, club. So we are in front of the Holocaust Memorial. This is the Holocaust Memorial, which is a memorial for 6 million murdered Jews of Europe. So you've probably seen also in Netherlands, you have this little 10 by 10 centimeters Stolpersteine, which are usually placed in front of the houses where people lived and were taken out into concentration camps. This is the Holocaust Memorial for 6 million murdered Jews of Europe. It was designed by Peter Eisenman, an American architect, who put 2,711 stele or slabs in this location. You can see they range from flat ones like this one to about 4.7 meters height. And I'm going to walk into it so you can kind of see how it becomes higher and higher, you know, so these slabs, these columns get up into the air. And it's quite powerful, you know, the architect didn't really say what this should represent. He leaves it open for everyone's interpretation. So you can see whatever you want to see. You can see a Jewish cemetery. You can see barracks. You can see coffins. You can see a maze. You can see the scariest time in the concentration camps. You know, so whatever you want to see, you can see. So it's open for your interpretation. It's not a cemetery, it's just a memorial. But, you know, people should act accordingly here. So no, like, jumping up and down or doing, you know, sometimes I see people do like inappropriate selfies and stuff like that. I mean, you can take photos, you can reflect, you can sit on them and reflect, but don't jump and change the camera so you can see how high this is, you know. It gets like this, turning around so you can kind of like see a little bit how this looks like. And they're all made of concrete. There's about 5 centimeters of the wall. So they're hollow inside. They're empty inside. You know, that's why also some of them unfortunately cracked when we still had like really cold winters, which we don't have anymore. For the past 4 years, we haven't had really, really cold winters. So not like I remember I was once when I was in Netherlands in 96, I think you had a really, really cold winter and all the canals froze and there was this big skating competition all around Netherlands that happens only every now and then when you have like this big freeze, you know. So that's what I remember from 96, I think it was.
Okay. Miha, by the
Yeah.
way, it is impressive if you go on the camera through this here. When I look at the screen, it is already impressive. So I think when you walk there, it's amazing. And you must know tomorrow is the day on the 4th of May. We every year have an evening where we call it Dodenherdenking. That is where we think of the dead people, the victims of the World War. On the 5th of May, we have a national holiday, which is called 5 Mei, Bevrijdingsdag. So you know, the day that we get freed. So it's wonderful. That is a fantastic moment to see this, and it's really impressive already on the screen. Because as you say, this is, if you see caskets here, and when you go into it, it seems to be a wall. So is this, by the way, there is a question here. Is this Eastern Berlin?
Yes, we are just on the East Berlin. We just crossed the wall, as you saw before.
Yeah.
We were driving, so we are maybe, I would say, 100 meters into East Berlin. We are currently standing where before, during the division of Berlin, this used to be the death strip. There was not just one wall, there were 2 walls. And in the middle, you had the death strip, you know, where it was just sand and watchtowers. And in the watchtowers, there were snipers who would shoot at people who would try to escape from the east to west, you know.
Yeah. Oh, man. There is one, somebody is telling, well, I've never been to Berlin, but this tour makes me really enthusiastic to come. So this is also helping to put Berlin on the map here, and people are really becoming enthusiastic of coming to Berlin.
Thank you. You know, this is not the only memorial here. There are memorials for all kinds of groups. There's a memorial for gay people, for about 50,000 gay people who were murdered or imprisoned during the Nazi regime. Also, it's in the park over there, not far from here. Also, in front of the parliament, which you can see in the back, there's also a gypsy memorial for 500,000 gypsies who were murdered in the concentration camps. There's a memorial for disabled people. So about 300,000 disabled people were murdered, mentally or physically disabled. They were already gassed in the 30s, you know, because the Nazis said that disabled people cannot contribute to Germany. So they just cost the money and there's no effect from them. So that's why they got rid of them. There's also a memorial in front of the parliament for 96 members of the parliament who were sent to concentration camps after this fire that I presented before. And on the other side here, these buildings behind the trees, these are the offices or the embassies of different German states. Germany is divided into 16 states. Sometimes Germans say 17 because they count Mallorca as well. But officially 16, yes. Mallorca is not a German state. Yeah, so there are 15 offices in Berlin because the state of Berlin doesn't need their own office. It's already, you know, its own state. So they have their own embassies over here. We will continue now towards...
Okay, let me, what kind of car are you driving, by the way?
Sorry?
What kind of car are you driving?
I am driving a Mercedes, of course.
Okay. I wanted to ask you that question because that is really a Mercedes here. It is, we said in the past, a Mercedes here is for landsmen, for boeren, for bouwen, and for people that works in the as builders, so contractors. So,
yeah.
But now I also know it's for tour guides as well.
Yes, and it's also for the pimps.
For the pimps. Okay, well, that's clear.
Especially this model.
Okay. Ik zal nog even terug in het Nederlands, Miha.
Yes, of course.
Nou mensen, wat ontzettend leuk dat jullie hier nu zoveel reageren. Er komt van alles binnen. En ik zie het hier op de livestream, op de chat, in het beeld. Dat hebben jullie misschien zelf ook in beeld. Maar ik zie, er komt bij mij ook het nodige binnen. Can you tell a little bit about the Trabis from the past?
Yeah, so Trabant or Trabi is an East German car built in two versions. So there was an extended version and a normal version, you know. It was a iconic little car, you know, one of the two cars you could get in Germany, in East Germany, not in Germany, in East Germany. There was also Wartburg, which you could get. This was another German car, East German car. Trabant was made of plastic, special plastic called Duraplast, which was a very durable plastic because they were lacking raw materials like metal, so they had to come up with something else. And, you know, some people you could wait also up to 20 years to get one because it wasn't a market economy, it was a planned economy. So they only planned as many as needed, you know, and they produced as many as needed. And you had to apply well in advance to get one.
Okay, now I have a question here, but I explained it already, but I tell it for the whole people. Somebody is asking, what is PIMS? So now I explain in the Dutch what PIMS is. En zo, even in het Nederlands, wel grappig. Ik vroeg, Miha, wat voor auto rij je nou? Heb ik gisteren natuurlijk al gevraagd, maar nu even voor de humor. Omdat wij zeggen, joh, Mercedes, die zijn voor... Hier zeggen we, jongen, dat is voor boeren en voor bouwvakkers. Nou, dat is ook een beetje zo. Het zijn natuurlijk auto's die niet kapot zijn, zeker vroeger. Maar hij zegt, het is voor boeren en voor bouwvakkers En ook voor pimps. En pimps zijn pooiers. Nou, ik ga er verder niet veel over vertellen. Maar dat is dan even duidelijk. I explained what pimps are,
Okay.
Miha.
I'm sure Amsterdam people should know exactly what a pimp is.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Okay.
So yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I was wondering if you, somebody said thank you for the explanation. So that's good.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's always good if I can explain what a pimp is to a Dutch person.
People are really, really, really enthusiastic here, Miha, because people say, well, it's very clear. I can see the streets now. You are doing a fantastic job. The way you express yourself is very clear to people. So your customers from Holland are very, very excited and very, very satisfied so far.
Thank you. Thank you. So we are currently at another beautiful square. This is the St. Hedwig's Cathedral, which is one of the few Catholic churches in Berlin. You know, Berlin doesn't have many Catholic churches because it's Protestant Lutheran. You can also see the TV tower in the back. And this is the State Opera House, the oldest opera house in Berlin, one of the three opera houses, about 280 years old, something like that. In the back, you can see the Humboldt University, which is a very renowned university that produced about 40 recipients of Nobel Prize. Then on the other side, over here, you can see the old library, which is now, I just pulled the window down, which is now the law school, but it used to be originally a library. And in the middle of this square, which is called Platz, 20,000 books were burned on 10th of May, 1933. You know, the Nazi students burned all these books in front of the library, books by works by Heinrich Heine, Erich Kästner, then Sigmund Freud, Karl Marx, and all, you know, a lot of Jewish authors as well. So there was a big fire, and you can still see if you Google, you can see the original photos, how this was happening. Erich Kästner was actually watching it from a side, how his books were burning. And so this is a very historical place, and this is all in East Berlin, former East Berlin.
Okay. Did you still look up to see how many seats there are in this building?
Oh, I didn't. Oh, I'm sorry.
You forgot, eh?
I forgot because I just started another tour after you. So yes.
Yeah. Too busy.
Yeah, but it's a couple. I think it's a couple of hundred. So maybe 500, 600.
No, it's just for fun. There is somebody who is asking, are these buildings rebuilt after the war? But I think this is not bombed in the World War. Huh?
They were damaged, but not completely destroyed. So they were renovated. If you Google Berlin 1945, you will see a lot of photos of buildings, and you can see how much was damaged. You know, most of the roofs were gone, so a lot of roofs. But these historical buildings, you know, the Allies tried to not to damage too much the historical buildings. They mostly targeted political government buildings, military targets. You know, of course, as a side effect, it was also some other buildings, unfortunately, and also residential places. But this building in front of us that I'm showing now, and unfortunately I have to drive on, but this is Neue Wache. It's a memorial to all the victims of wars and dictatorships. And you can see here also this building that is wrapped. On the left is the German Historical Museum. We are now driving onto the museum island. We are not yet on the island, but we are driving onto it. And just in a few seconds, you will see this beautiful new part of the Deutsches Historisches Museum, which I love so much because it's like an amazing staircase. You know, it just looks very beautiful, I think. And yeah, this is kind of the staircase next to the new part of German Historical Museum, which we will now drive around and get onto the museum island. I'm going to park on the bridge, actually. You know, the good thing about Corona is that I can park now anywhere without being scared of being towed away or get a fine. So it's perfect for this kind of tours. But Berlin is never really too full of cars, you know. So we luckily don't have this extreme traffic jams like some other cities have, which makes it quite nice to travel and drive around. So I'm gonna get out again, or I am out already. Um, and yeah, you asked about the car, right? This is the car.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And this is the old museum, Altes Museum. There are 5 museums on this island. This is the Altes Museum, the oldest museum. They were all built in the span of like 100 years, starting with 1827 to about, well, actually, it never really stopped because this James Simon Gallery that you see in front of me was actually created, just opened last August, you know, so August 2019. And it's kind of the common entrance to all those different museums. It was designed by David Chipperfield. In the back, the yellow building is the new museum. In the new museum, you have the bust of Egyptian Queen Nefertiti.
Okay.
And down here, you can see the canal. The river Spree flows around the island, so it splits in 2 canals. One canal is used for the ships and cruise ships. The other one is empty, like here, and it will be turned into a public swimming pool by 2025 is the plan. And then if you look back, unfortunately I cannot zoom on this Skype call that I'm doing, but with Jaap. But if you look back, there are a few tall buildings. There's one that is orange, not the low one with red roof, but the tall ones.
Okay.
In the orange building, the tall orange building, that's where Angela Merkel lives.
Oh, really? Here in this place?
Yeah, with her husband, Professor Dr. Sauer. They're both scientists, right? So she's a physicist, he's a chemist. So yeah, and there's like a small police car in front of it, a small Opel Corsa with 2 policemen, you know, and that's it.
It's are very you going to visit her now?
Well, we could walk to the front door, yes. But it would be quite a walk. So either this or, you know, I show you some more of Berlin while it's still light.
I don't know if she will be at home. Maybe
she's
out for dinner now.
But we could go to the front door. You can go to the front door. You can you can go up the stairs, you know, to the main door. And yeah, you know, for really? Americans, this is really something because they cannot even get close to the White House. Okay. So. But well, here
there is some chats here coming in. People say it's beautiful. I've been there a couple of times and I recognize a lot. Someone else says, well, good to see, and the Miha is doing fantastic. And somebody say it's very good, and the guide can be understood good, and the loudness is good. Only there is a lot of echo. Tamar says, well, the echo is terrible, so I keep my mouth shut as much as possible.
Okay, yeah. So I'll take it. I'll take it from here on. So you can see the James Simon Gallery. You can see the Pergamon Museum, which is the one that is the youngest one actually, and has the Pergamon altar inside. It has Ishtar Gate from ancient Babylon inside. It has also part of the Roman city built inside. So it's, if you come here, go to this museum and go to the other museum. They're really worth seeing. But if I turn around, you can see still a lot of damage from the Second World War, you know. This is all from the street fighting when the Russian Soviet Army came, Soviet Red Army came to the city, you know, then that's when the street fighting started. So there are quite a lot of holes. If I put my hand into this one, you will see how large this actually is, you know. So,
Well,
yeah, this is here to stay, you know, so we know what was happening. Um, in Berlin and in Germany, everything is still out there for everyone to learn. You know, Germans try not to forget it, but to put it out there and always to remember. You know, and I think that's a quite good approach how to not repeat the history, which we see in a lot of places in the world now, where extreme right extremism is kind of coming back. You know, unfortunately. So I think more people should kind of follow the German approach. Of course, they were kind of forced into it because they lost the war, but still, you know, I think it's a very good approach to teach your future generations what happened, what you have done wrong, and not to repeat it, right?
yeah. Okay, sorry, there is people here that give me some information. There were people were asking if those holes in the wall were really of the bullets, but as you can imagine, I have these questions 20 seconds after we together have been there. So you already give the answer, and that's what
Yes.
it is. Well, so fantastic, good reactions. People are really happy with what they see and what they hear. There is only a few, well, no further questions. A lot of people are looking now on the TV and they don't have echoes. Let me explain that in Dutch, Miha. Mensen, ik zie alleen maar van een enkeling dat het geluid zo slecht is. Maar ik hoor dat er heel goed geluid is. Geen last op de tv, zegt Hein. Ik hoor meer mensen zeggen, jongen, er is helemaal geen echo. Dus dat gaat allemaal goed. Dus het ligt niet aan onze instellingen. Het ligt echt aan waar het op bekeken wordt. En ik kan begrijpen dat het zichtbaar is op je Withlocals website. En het is ook zichtbaar op de tv, zegt Hein. Ik weet niet hoe dat komt, maar dat zal waarschijnlijk... En er is ook iemand zegt ook, ik heb geen last op mijn laptop. Dus ja, ik weet niet waar je op zit te kijken, Tamar, maar verder is er geen probleem. Of althans weinig problemen. Weinig echo op de laptop. Oké, Miha, go on again.
Yes, so we just are still on the museum island. I was just showing you these beautiful colonnades. You know, there's an amazing art, an amazing architecture here. Um, Berlin was also used to be called Athens on Spree because there's so much Greek-inspired architecture on the museum island, especially. I will get out again because there's some more to show you. And I will show you the museum front, the main cathedral, which you can see over here. This is Berliner Dom from 1905. So it's not that old. It looks like an old Baroque church, but it's actually just over 100 years old. And here you can see the old museum, Altes Museum. On these stairs, Hitler used to have his speeches. He had there was a rally going on here. If I turn to the other side, you can see the castle of Berlin, which is coming up again. It was completely rebuilt in the past, I would say maybe 9 years. So original castle used to stand here. It was damaged in the Second World War, but in the 50s, the Eastern government completely blew it up. They blew up the remainings of the castle, which could have been nicely renovated, but they didn't, for ideological reasons, they didn't want to have the castle anymore. So they blew it up and they built Palace of the Republic, which was like a kind of typical East German or communist architecture, box building, serving as their parliament. And then in 2000s, they decided after the reunification to remove that building, which was basically falling apart. It was quite controversial because, it's been the only building for a lot of people who were younger. But then the decision was taken to rebuild the castle. And this is a copy by Franco Stella from Florence. It's almost identical. Three sides are identical. The last part is kind of new, like a modern kind of part facade, but all the three parts of the facade are the same. And they're just finishing the dome. So by the end of the year, it should be opened. And again, the cathedral, Berliner Dom, which has the new dome from the 80s. The dome was only rebuilt in the 80s when the Western money came in. And in the cellar or in the crypt, they have all these coffins and from different German rulers, kings, queens, different royals. So if you come here and you like going down into the cellars and explore the coffins, go there and you will see all these different dead people.
Hey. There was a question here, Miha. Somebody is asking, are they intending to do a restoration because it looks so dark and so...
Yes, they are. So the tower was already restored. They're restoring another one. You can see a lot of patchwork, where they kind of filled in because there were bullet holes or different holes from the war. Yes, eventually it will be cleaned up, I think, but it takes a lot of money, a lot of time. So, these things take forever. If you are closer to Cologne Cathedral, right? So more people probably know Cologne from Netherlands, and you know how long it takes to clean that cathedral, like the Cathedrale in Köln.
I see. Just a technical question. There is a remark from Bianca, that is our, let's say, the project manager in this case. And she said, we only have 15 minutes left for with good light. After half an hour from now, it will be dark there. So I will explain to people. Are we going to continue this project, Miha?
Yes, we are continuing it, and we are almost at the end. We have a little bit to go. We're now going directly to East Side Gallery, which is the largest art gallery in the world. And it's actually the actual Berlin Wall. So you will still see things. But along the road, along the way, you will see quite a lot of also landmarks, including the TV tower that you can see in right now. The TV tower, which I explained already before. Then you can see one of the oldest churches in Berlin, which is the St. Mary's Church. It's this one with a green top. We will be also passing the City Hall of Berlin. the Red City Hall, which will just be here on the side. I will turn the camera so you will see it for a little bit. We will pass it. It's from 19th century. This is the Red City Hall in the back where our mayor is, Michael Müller, from the SPD. You can see already architecturally, this is different here. It's a very modern kind of socialistic feel because Alexanderplatz is the biggest square in Berlin. It's really huge. There's a lot of shopping opportunities. You see on the right, Galeria Kaufhof and the hotel in the back. In the future, in the next 5 to 10 years, the plan is to build up to 10 skyscrapers here. So the skyline will change quite a lot. Next, we will be driving onto the Karl Marx Allee, which is this big avenue, which initially was named Stalin Allee. But after they realized what a murderer Stalin was, and that he wasn't a hero, they renamed it in the 50s into Karl Marx Allee. And it's the big avenue that was built in the 50s after the initial Große Frankfurter Straße, which was there before, or the Great Frankfurt Street, was almost completely destroyed when the Soviet Red Army was coming into the city from the east. So there was a lot of fighting going on, and the buildings were heavily damaged. They could have been repaired, but for East Germans, I guess it was cheaper to rebuild new buildings, Plus, they wanted to impress. They wanted to show it was like known as a Prachtallee, or like a very posh avenue. It was called the Palaces for the working class. So all the buildings are covered in tiles, and you will just start seeing it once I turn, and we continue across Alexanderplatz.
Is this already Karl Marx Allee?
No, this is not yet Karl Marx Allee. I will turn the camera a little bit so you can see a little bit Alexanderplatz while we are driving. There's a lot of construction going on here as well.
Yeah.
So this is Alexanderplatz, a big square with a TV tower on the top. But we are now driving onto the Karl Marx Allee. Karl Marx Allee starts in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It started right now. So we are now on Karl Marx Allee, which is being completely renovated. They want to bring its old charm back. The buildings on this part of Karl Marx Allee are a little bit more modern because they were built in the 60s. There's also Kino International on the left, you can see, which was the most important cinema in East Germany, where all the premieres were happening. This is this building on the side with a glass facade kind of sticking out. So I still go to this cinema, not now, unfortunately, but I love going to the cinema. It has a special charm, And on the other side, there was Cafe Moscow, which is now an event place. So, this is why I love Berlin also so much, because the architecture through different systems is so different, in the East, in the West, and then historically, and it's, there's something for everyone. And if you're big enough to embrace all these different styles, it can be just wonderful. You can see these two towers, which are built in wedding cake style, a special architectural style that was used in the beginning of 20th century. Like Empire State Building is like this in New York, but this was only used in the 50s, so it came to Berlin a little bit later. But all these buildings, see, these are all apartment buildings. These were the best apartments in East Berlin. And they have terraces, they have balconies, they're all covered in tiles. This whole street, the plan is to make it a UNESCO World Heritage. So the avenue is 90 meters wide. So it's a huge avenue, you know. You don't have this kind of huge avenues often. A plane could basically land here. Underneath, there's an underground U5, U5. Um, Over here, you can see some more modern buildings because here there used to be a beautiful sports hall, which was then torn down in the 70s. It was built basically within a year for like youth games that were taking place in Berlin, but it was built so poorly that they had to tear it down for because the static was really poor. So then this modern building came. Stalin statue was on the right side over here where the red car was just going. Of course, that's removed in the 50s already when Stalin was no longer popular. And in the end of in the end of the avenue, you can see the two towers. This is the Frankfurt Gate, a beautiful gate with the two towers with green roofs. You know, so this avenue, if you stand in the middle, if you come to Berlin, you have to come to this avenue and just stand, turn around one side, the other side. The sunsets are beautiful on this avenue. I live just around the corner here, so I get this view every day, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, the apartments in these buildings are very, very nice. So now we'll turn to the right and we'll drive down to the river to the East Side Gallery or the Berlin Wall.
I have, in the meantime, I have a question from Alexandros, and
Yes.
he is asking us, is there any bicycle lanes? As you know, here in our country, I think there is one right now on the right-hand side of you, eh?
You just have to look and you'll see them. Yes, there are bicycle lanes also on that avenue where we were, but they're on the pavement. Sometimes they're on the streets, sometimes they're on the pavement because pavements are really large. And Berlin is a very, very bicycle friendly city. So the Dutch should feel like at home over here. And you are very welcome to come to Berlin and try it yourself. So most of the streets will have for dedicated lanes for bicycles. They are now even being extended, made even wider, because there's so many bicycles in the city, and cycling is really, really popular, getting even more popular. I am using bicycle all the time because it's the fastest way to get around. You can also take a bicycle on the public transport if you want. You have to buy a separate bicycle ticket, but you can take it with you on S-Bahn. We are just passing the former East train station, Ostbahnhof, which used to be the central station of East Berlin. It's just up here. The S-Bahn is just coming in. And we're driving under the tracks now, coming down to East Side Gallery, which will be our last part of the tour. And this is the longest art gallery in the world, created in 1990. The wall was created earlier, of course. This is the wall that was built in the 80s. The original wall was actually built in the 61. But, you know, every 10 years or so, they were upgrading it to a better wall because they didn't want people to escape. So this wall was introduced in the 80s, and it's a concrete panels stuck together with a round top on the top. So 3.6 meters high, and this is the longest part of the wall still standing, which is 1.3 kilometers long. The wall was 155 kilometers around Berlin, 155.8 to be exact. And it was surrounding West Berlin, making it kind of an island in the middle of East Germany. It came up on 13th of August, 1961, and lasted until 9th of November, 1989, when metaphorically came down, but a year later, when Germany reunited, they removed most of the wall. So you can see already here on the right, These are the artworks that were put on in 1990 when they asked 118 artists from 21 countries to put their best works onto the wall. And these works are talking about freedom, about equality, about environment, about the wall, political issues, all kinds of stuff, you know. So it's a beautiful wall to walk around and just admire these artworks. You can also see there's all this construction work going on in around, which was not here originally. I remember in 2004 when I first came to Berlin to live. This was completely empty. There was no buildings here at all. And now you have already all this uh, area was rebuilt and their offices, their apartments, you know, so it's all very modern now already. But the wall is still there. So, you know, you can see the wall. I will stop in front of another artwork here, which is quite nice. And it shows you once the wall opened, all these people were escaping through the wall, you know, to the west. So you can see masses of people going through the open wall. This is a beautiful artwork here.
Miha, this
Yes,
is the original wall from the dividing between east and west.
yes, this is the original wall from that was dividing east and west and prohibiting East Berliners going to escaping to West Berlin. So the wall was put up because by 1961 more than 3 million East Germans and Berliners were escaped to West Berlin looking for new jobs, looking for new life, maybe wanted to live with their relatives, you know. And East Germany got afraid that everybody will go, so that's why they built the wall. Of course, they named it anti-fascist, anti-capitalist wall because to their own people they said we're building it to protect you from the horrible capitalism, Western capitalism and fascism. But they soon realized that it was actually to keep them inside so they would not escape to West, because East Germans could not travel anywhere in Western world, you know?
Miha,
Yes,
this is we have a wonderful tour, and I love it. But there is a question. Now we see white streets and new buildings in the eastern part. What
yes,
is what I remember when I was there? That's a long time ago. I remember the Kudamm, Kurfürstendamm. I
yes,
remember KDW, Kaufhaus des Westen.
yes,
Ich erinnere mich, was war das? Kaiser Wilhelms Gedächtniskirche oder so
yes.
etwas.
Yes, this is the center of West Berlin. This is about 8 kilometers away from here. It's too far away that we could squeeze it in 1 hour, you know. So that's why I didn't go there. But I will now cross the bridge, this beautiful Oberbaumbrücke, to West Berlin, which is called Kreuzberg, and it's a very residential area. You know, very ethnic. A lot of Turkish people live there. So I will now cross, and then that's where we will finish. So you will see also a little bit of the street light there. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is, but that is what people say here. They say we love to see what we see, but what about the city center? So, well, that's a good question.
This is the city
Maybe we
center.
will have another. Maybe you can do a talk on a bicycle or a walking tour. Maybe you never know in the future.
Yes, but yeah, I have to correct you. This is the city center. What you saw, the city center. When Berlin reunited, the city center shifted to Mitte. The
Oh,
city
really?
center of West Berlin was around Kudamm. But
Oh,
now
okay.
that's just the one center of West Berlin. The center of East Berlin is Alexanderplatz.
Yeah.
And, you know, all the historical buildings that we saw in Mitte, Mitte is the real center now. So the center actually shifted to the original center of Berlin, which was before the war.
Okay.
Kudamm,
Okay.
Yeah,
Clear.
Kudam is
That's
very
clear
high.
now to me. Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
This is a very famous artwork, by Dmitry Vrubel. It's actually it's a copy of an actual photo which happened in the 70s when Brezhnev and Honecker met on a state visit. And on the left, you can see Leonid Brezhnev. On the right, you see Erich Honecker. And
Yeah.
they kissed, So if you Google these two, you will see it's an actual black and white photo that this is based on. And this is kind of the most famous artwork here. It's like a Mona Lisa of East Side Gallery. On a normal day without COVID-19, you will have masses of people standing in front of here and trying to take a photo.
Really
Yeah.
interesting. There is
But now, of course,
a tower somewhere here with a turning restaurant in the top.
I showed you, that's the biggest tower. I showed it several times when we were passing Alexanderplatz.
Okay.
And it's a tower. It's the largest building in Germany. It's a TV tower, and inside there's a restaurant that turns around in about 60 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, now I remember, but I am reading all those messages here, so I was a little bit confused. Sorry for that.
Yeah. We saw that. So if they, I don't know if they can go back into the presentation, but you can see the TV tower. We were passing it. They were in several shots. But here now we will cross this beautiful bridge, which is the Oberbaumbrücke, and we will cross to Kreuzberg. And as we are crossing, you will, as the last part of the tour, you will see a little bit of the street life in Kreuzberg. So not that many people, of course, because for obvious restrictions, but still, it's a part that I love very much. It has a lot of bars, a lot of restaurants, a lot of Turkish restaurants. Vietnamese restaurants are very famous in Berlin because there's about 40,000 Vietnamese people living all over Berlin, especially in the east. And you have all these amazing Vietnamese restaurants. I personally love Vietnamese food. So yeah, that's something to try when you come to Berlin. See this
What is
bridge?
this?
This is the Oberbaum Bridge, which
Okay.
has a train goes across the U1, the oldest train line, the oldest underground line goes across. The oldest train line was built in 1902, the U-Bahn. So U1, U1, and we are now in Kreuzberg. Kreuzberg is already West Berlin. So some people say that reminds them of Brooklyn, in New York. It's kind of very, a lot of brick buildings, a lot of old buildings, a lot of graffiti everywhere. Um, Also, over here, I will show you there's a interesting building, which is the old toilet from the emperor's times. It's this little building here underneath the tracks. It used to be men's toilet, but now it's a burger place. It's called Burgermeister. And you
Okay.
can buy hamburgers and French fries here. And sometimes the line goes all the way to here, people waiting everywhere. You can
Really?
see some beautiful buildings here, old buildings, So this is how Kreuzberg looks like. Of course, there are also newer buildings because some of them were destroyed. But because this was like a more residential neighborhood, they didn't bomb it as much. Plus, Kreuzberg is very big. There's a lot to see in Kreuzberg. So when you come here for real, I suggest that you take a bike and you bike across Kreuzberg. You go to Markthalle 9, which is a market hall. Um, I want to show you another beautiful thing, street art before we finish. And it's just here around the corner. It's a beautiful street art of a Japanese lady, and it's right here. Berlin is known for its street art, and it's everywhere, really. This one I love very much. This one is really beautiful. Is this Japanese lady that you can see? So, you know, this street art is actually commissioned. You have a lot of wild street art. You have some commissioned one. So I do also graffiti tours in Berlin. Um, there are several tours that you can take with locals. You know, if you go to the Withlocals page, withlocals.com, and you can then check all the different tours that people do, from food tasting tours, drinking tours, beer tours, Jewish tours,
Paper
biking
tours.
tours. Yeah. So there's a lot of that, you know.
Hey, Miha, there is a question here from, who is that? Nan van Oefelen. She's asking, do you still have those underground cafes and dancing bars, etc. in West Berlin?
Yes, they are still there. Not as much as before because the prices went up, of course. So it's not like it was in the 90s where there was huge underground scene. But we still do have a lot of these. You know, we will see what will happen now after the COVID crisis. You know, because a lot of bars are closed now, and of course, you know, they still need to pay the rent. So we'll see how many will die. I hope not too many, you know, because I really like this Berlin bar scene. But yes, you do have a lot of still different bars and clubs, underground clubs, and all of that here. You just have to know the right people to get in, you know.
Somebody is asking me, can we go to the Christmas markets with Club? And that is where the big shop is with all those restaurants in the top. That is the KDW. So somebody is giving a proposal to go to Berlin, but well, we have to wait and see what COVID is doing. Maybe in the future, and then, well, of course, we call you to have you as our guide in Berlin. I think, Miha, this is the end of our tour for today.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yes, I will just finish here at this beautiful balcony here, where you have a beautiful view over Spree River. So I wanted to show you as the end. I wanted to show you this beautiful view here.
Okay.
And
Is there a lot of water sports in Berlin, Miha?
yes, also people surf, people paddle, people do boats. You know, you have a lot of stuff that is going on here. Look, there's all this construction that we passed before. The bridge that we crossed, you know, one side, and then somebody asked about this tower. You can see
Hey,
the
listen.
tower again.
Hey, listen. This is while you see me now. You can see my picture as well, eh?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can see your picture. Yes.
Look at what we have a beautiful view
Oh,
over our river
nice.
here.
So water to water, huh?
Water to water.
What a great finish.
Yeah, this is a good finish, and this is my
This used to
home
be.
now. Let's say the home of
Oh,
my
very
neighbor.
nice.
No fun. This is my neighbor. Go
So
on.
you can see Berlin Wall. On the other side, this white wall. You know, this is the other side. And this used to be a bridge that went across the river, which was destroyed in the Second World War and will be rebuilt at some point, you know. But yeah, this is the tour.
I
So
think
let me toggle the camera back
yeah,
to.
nice. Miha, so I'm in again. There is a message from Bianca,
Yes.
and she said, yeah, okay. Let me finish in Dutch, okay? And then I come back to you once again.
Sure.
Nou, lieve mensen, ik hoop dat jullie geweldig genoten hebben van deze rondreis door Berlijn. Ik zou zeggen, we doen even een rondje applaus voor Miha. Miha, applaus. We applaud for you.
Thank you.
We had a fantastic time. I will explain. So people say here, thank you very much, Miha. So I will explain a little bit more about Withlocals in Dutch. Okay, people are really thankful here. There's a lot of messages coming in now and say thank you, thank you, thank you.
They
Has
can
been a wonderful
they
tour.
can they can
And
book this tour, you know, also like a virtual tour online, and you know, if they want to tell their friends, if somebody would like to give a gift or something, you know, or have they have like maybe grandparents who cannot travel, they can do a tour with me, you know, so I will take them around virtually and show them. They can also customize the tour completely if they remember some places where they were in Berlin maybe on previous times and they want to revisit them again, you know. So we are always prepared to customize 100%.
okay, thank you so much, Miha. I will explain in Dutch again and
Yes.
I come back to you. Just a
Okay.
second, please. Nou, lieve mensen, nogmaals, er komen werkelijk heel veel leuke berichten binnen van de mensen die hebben genoten vanavond. Even het probleem van het geluid, want dat heb ik ook net van iemand te horen gekregen. Die had gewoon 2 apparaten aanstaan. Dus dat was niet, hier was het probleem niet. Het probleem was vooral daar, bij de kijkers. Nou, de vraag is nu, hoe kunnen we Miha bereiken? Nou, dat zal ik je even uitleggen. Withlocals is een organisatie die er aan werkt. Die heeft in ik geloof op meer dan 60 plaatsen in de wereld zijn er gidsen die een privé rondtour willen maken met jullie. Dat kun je allemaal op de website zien, withlocals.com. Daar kun je zien, wil je nou naar Berlijn, dan kan je natuurlijk contact leggen met Miha. Die kan je rondleiden. Je kunt in overige steden van de wereld allerlei grappige dingen doen. En sommige mensen vragen nu, kun je mij dat adres doorgeven? Het werkt allemaal via de website van Withlocals. Daar zie je dus het aanbod van al die gidsen, waar Miha er dus één van is. Omdat het nu in deze tijd gewoon moeilijk is om te reizen vanwege COVID, is het gewoon goed om te weten dat je op die website van Withlocals, daar kun je het aanbod zien van de virtual tour. Dus van de manier waarop we dat nu doen. Dat kost iets. Dit kost natuurlijk wat. Maar wij hebben dit nu samen met Withlocals en Club gedeeld. Zij hebben daarbij nu 500 mensen meer in Nederland die nou weten hoe dat werkt. Dus dat is allemaal prima. Maar dit is dus het verhaal. Ik ga eindigen en afronden samen met Miha. I am finishing now the tour officially with a great thank you very much to, first of all, the guys who made it possible to have this tour, which is Bram from Withlocals in the Netherlands and Michiel, the manager of Club, who did this, who organized this together with Bram. So thank you very much, Club, for what you have done. And then I thank so much to Bianca, who was the project manager. She is now in Eindhoven, and she is watching this now. Thank you very much, Bianca. And in Litauen, there was Lithuania, there was Lucas, who was the editor now, so who put it all together. It was fantastic, Lucas. I can tell you that the issue with the echo has been solved, because in people's rooms, people had 2 or 3 devices at the same time, and then you have an echo there. So I thank you both very much. And then Miha, thank you very much for taking us around in Berlin. We had I was thrilled, really, and I see all the people they are so happy with what you have done. So I can say thank you very much, and then you can now finish, and I will stay away. I say thank you, Clubbers. We zien jullie graag weer, and I give the last words is for Miha.
Thank you. Well, I had a great fun. I always love giving tours. This is my passion, and I'm so grateful that I can get to do this. With locals. And please do come back to Berlin when it's when the crisis is over, or at least a little bit loosened. And you will see it's a great city. It's really worthwhile. Take a few more days so you can also go to a cafe and just sit there and enjoy looking at people. So you don't just rush from one part to another. Also, if you come in December, there's usually around 50 Christmas markets. There were some years when there were like 100 Christmas markets. So there's not just one. So you get prepared. There's a lot of them in Berlin. And yes, thank you. You were a wonderful audience. I didn't see you, but I'm sure um, that I will see you someday in Berlin. So welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Miha. And God bless you. Hope to see you later.
Stay
And
safe
we had a
and
wonderful
healthy.
time.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.